Hey guys, welcome back to Beta Me. So today I'm actually going to talk about how to properly care for your African dwarf frogs. This video is going to be a little long and I apologize in advance, but there's a lot that I need to cover. So I'm going to start off with tank maintenance and whatnot. Taking care of your African dwarf frogs is pretty simple. There's not much that you really need to do besides clean after them and feed them. Other than that, you can just leave them alone. Allow 1 gallon of water per frog. A lot of people I see with 1 or 2 frogs in a 2.5 gallon or in a 5.5 gallon. I have 4 in a 10-gallon tank. I had a beta with it, as you all know. He recently passed away, so I now have 6 neon tetras, 4 African dwarf frogs, and 2 Nerret snails in here. It's about as far as I can go without overstocking the tank. They're not very messy at all, except for when they're eating. They don't produce a lot of waste, but their food is what fouls up the water more than they do. They don't need a heater as long as the water doesn't drop below 70 degrees. I keep my tank between 75 and 80 degrees. The only time it's lower than that is when I'm pretty much doing a water change and the heater's not plugged in. Don't put them in high or deep tanks because it is stressful on them because they aren't the best swimmers. So when, you see them going like this, swimming, they're pretty much moving against, like this one as an example. That's pretty much how they swim. They're not the best swimmers. They have very fragile and delicate bodies, so it makes it harder for them to swim. Their arms are like little toothpicks, So swimming from the bottom of the tank to the top can be very stressful on them. The type of substrate that you can use, you can have a bare bottom, gravel, or sand. Those are the 3 best recommended things. A bare bottom tank is where you have absolutely no substrate at all. No sand, no gravel, it's just the bottom of the aquarium. It's the easiest to clean. You can just use a turkey baster to remove any of the waste, their poop, or any uneaten food. Gravel gives it a more natural and realistic look, like mine does. Or you can use sand. Sand is also good, and it works best with them because they're too small. They're small enough so that it doesn't stir up the sand. You know what I mean? And it doesn't clog up your filter or anything. But when it comes to eating, they can ingest the sand. So, you don't want to use marbles or river stones and all of that with them. I know I have some river rocks here. I say don't use them, but I have them. Plants offer a natural environment for them, and they also provide them a sense of security. You can use fake or real plants. It really doesn't matter to them as long as they have somewhere to chill. They like hanging out under the Amazon sword here. Sometimes I'll occasionally see them sitting in the Anubias, but a lot of the times they will be hanging out in the valves, hiding their asses off. Small terracotta pots are also good for them. As you can see, I have one here. It's like a little cave. Any kind of hiding spot for them is actually good because they're really shy. They love hanging out in this little log here. They love it. That's the only place I will really see them in. I rarely see them hiding in the terracotta pot. A lot of the times they're hanging out in the valves. Besides that, providing them with a lot of hiding spaces is good, but also you want to give them an open area to swim in like they're doing now. You know what I mean? They'll enjoy it. They'll appreciate it, I should say. Filtration, it keeps the water clean, but it's not needed. As I said, they don't produce a lot of waste and whatnot. But, if you're keeping other fish in the tank, then it's better to have a filter and whatnot. I had a beta, as you guys all know before. And since I have neon tetras and snails and whatnot, a filter is needed for this 10-gallon. Weekly water changes should be done to make sure that the water is sparkling clean like mine. Yeah, so feeding African dwarf frogs can be easy or can be difficult. It really just depends. Feeding them on a small dish like this or one that terracotta pots actually sit on is actually very ideal for them because since they don't have the best eyesight, So they find their food by smelling it. So having it in one designated area for them to go to is the best thing to do. Since I have 4 of them, I put 2 cubes of, whatever I'm feeding them onto here, and that's how they find their food. How I know they're hungry, there's always at least 1 or 2 that sit inside of it. So that's when I know that it's feeding time. The types of food that you can feed them, live, frozen, or freeze-dried. So this is what the frozen food looks like. This is the bloodworms that I feed them. They come in little cubes like this. Bloodworms are mosquito larvae, for those of you that don't know. It's best to run them over some warm water before you add them into the tank to get any, excess nastiness off of it. Tube effects worms, they love these, but these are also messy as well. And then we have the frozen brine shrimp, which I rarely give them because it is very, very messy. And when I say it's messy, it's pretty messy. I think it's a lot worse than a baby with candy. So these are some food that I feed them. You can get them, the tube effects, I got these on sale for about $2 at PetSmart. But other than that, they cost about $5 a pack. A lot of times people recommend feeding them the HBH frog bites because it provides them a lot of protein, as you can see here. But the HBH bites actually cause digestive issues for the frogs, so that's the only reason why I don't really feed them. On top of that, like I said before, they find their food by smelling it because they don't have the best eyesight, and the HBH bites actually don't give off a strong enough smell for them to be able to find them and for them to know that it's food. I've even tried mixing it with tube effects worms, and I've had no luck with them eating them. They just think they're pieces of gravel, so they just don't even bother with it. You can feed them live guppy fry or any type of live berry fry, frozen brine shrimp, frozen glassworms, frozen beef heart, frozen krill or baby shrimp. You can feed them earthworms, chopped into small sizes. As you can see, I did not list bloodworms. Bloodworms are, it's only recommended to feed them bloodworms once or twice a week because it causes major bloat. I only feed them bloodworms once a week as a treat. As a treat. I'll say that again. As a treat. Diseases are very common between dwarf frogs, and it sucks. Dropsy and bloat is one of the biggest ones. It's intense swelling in the body or the legs. Fungal infections is, the white cottony patches all over their body and whatnot. The bacterial infections, some have no physical symptoms, but a lot of the times they'll be lethargic, won't eat, and they float a lot. And chytrid fungus, which is the worst. It's deadly. They will die. A lot of the times you can find them floating at the top of the tank, or you can find them trying to climb out of the tank. And a lot of times, when people see their frogs hanging outside of the tank, not outside, but above the water, like in this area, I've seen people say, oh, my frog is trying to get out, ha 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 ha, type of stuff like that. And they think it's funny or they think it's cute. But in reality, your frog is actually dying, so it's not funny, right? So that's how I found out. The first time I ever had an African dwarf frog, it was trying to get out of the tank, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess they're not fully aquatic like I thought they were. But then I looked further into it and figured out that it was chytrid fungus, and he ended up passing away a few days later. So when they have chytrid fungus, they actually won't show any signs for about a month, and within the last 1 to 3 days, that's when you'll catch them floating, not eating, they're not going to be active, and eventually they will pass on. So it sucks. There is no known cure for dropsy or dropsy, whatever it is, and in most cases it's fatal. A lot of the times when it comes to dropsy or dropsy and chytrid fungus or any bacterial infection at all, you know, it's best to remove that frog and put it in a separate tank. But in the end, if and when they do pass away, it's better to completely clean your setup. What I can say, honestly, I mean, this is the best kind of setup for them. They have a lot of space, you know, they're a lot more active and stuff like that. They have, you know, areas to hide in, to hang out in and whatnot. So, I mean, it's pretty much common sense when it comes to African dwarf frogs. Again, these are fully aquatic amphibians. They do not live above water. They stay in water 24 hours out of the day. The only thing they do is come up for air, and that's it. You know, I've seen a lot of people asking questions online, you know, well, can my African dwarf frog hang out on a turtle ledge or something like that, you know, or can I take them out and hold them and whatnot? You know, they're shy. They are very shy frogs, and a lot of times they will swim away from you when you get near them. Also, sexing African dwarf frogs. This right here, I believe, is a female, but I can't really tell. The only way that you can really tell is they have a small little tail. If it's a female, you will see a small little tail in between the legs, and with the male, they have like a white spot underneath, I believe it's their right armpit. But this one, I believe it is a female. Yes, it is. And you can't really tell, so it sucks. But I have 3 females and 1 male. When also you have African dwarf frogs, you will hear singing when they are comfortable enough in their environment. The males will sing also to attract the attention of female frogs. So since 1 male and 3 females, I am constantly hearing the male sing every single night, and it's pretty loud. So what they sound like this. Zzz, zzz, zzz. So it's like a little zippy noise, and I hear it all night long, and it's pretty annoying. So yeah, this is a female. You can see the little tail. Yeah, you can see her tail right there. That little white nugget looking thing on her butt. So that's how you sex African dwarf frogs. And that's pretty much it. You know, that's how you care for your African dwarf frogs. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. You know, I'm open to answering any questions. So yeah, thanks for watching. Take care.